in a short sale, you are fighting to stop a foreclosure so you can negotiate with the bank to buy it for a low price. I just had 2 students in the past 2 months, each make over $100,000 profit.
The negotiation is far simpler because you're not like taking money out of their pocket.
I bought a house for $29,600 that I sold for $279,000. Come good at this, make a lot of money at it so that you can branch into other areas and other things in real estate. And right now, the banks are dumping the houses and nobody knows about it. They can't sell a house if they don't own it. They can't own it unless they foreclose on it. They can't foreclose on it because there's not the foreclosure companies to do it.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Wealthy Way podcast, where our mission is to help you not go broke trying to get rich. Today, I've got a real estate guy. I got to go back to my roots and go in depth on real estate. And usually I don't go super in depth on like a niche of real estate, but this one's really interesting because it's something that has not, in my opinion, been around in the last couple of years due to the government not allowing anyone to be foreclosed on. And that is the topic of short sales. And today I've got David Randolph with me to go over in depth why that's actually not true and why there's such a big opportunity right now. So what's up, David?
Hello, Ryan. I'm really honored and excited to be here with you today.
Yeah. All the way from Missouri?
St. Louis, Missouri, yes.
Nice. That's super cool, man. So you are the short sale guy. How, you and I were talking beforehand about short sales, and you were like, yeah, I do short sales. I go, how's that been the last couple of years? Like, there hasn't really been any. And you're like, nah, dude. There's short sales are happening. So tell me where I'm wrong.
Okay, well, it's interesting because the people that went to the courthouse steps had zero work for the past couple of years because of the forbearance and the pandemic, as you talked about. But a short sale is not a foreclosure at the courthouse steps. Actually, a foreclosure is a failed short sale. You didn't step in before that. So short sale happens right before the foreclosure takes place. Well, for that to happen, they have to miss a payment. Due to the pandemic, there was 1.6 million delinquent loans. Every one of those was a potential short sale. So my business increased dramatically because of the pandemic and the forbearance. It was actually almost heaven on earth because in a short sale, you are fighting to stop a foreclosure so you can negotiate with the bank to buy it for a low price. If the bank is not allowed by law to foreclose, I actually had a better time of doing a short sale because I didn't have to stop a date. Now, of course, people don't have as much incentive, right, to do the short sale because they're writing out free no payments.
Right.
So you have that aspect. But yeah, so, the whole forbearance, moratorium, pandemic issue created a lot of short sales that people don't even know about.
Yeah. So I want to talk about the mechanics of how a short sale works because many people don't really understand the process, right? And even for me, I was looking at the definition of a short sale. I was like, all right, to me, like I've always thought a short sale was when you owed more money than it was worth. And you're just trying to negotiate the bank to take less, and that's how you create a profit. And you're like, well, that's not the legal definition. This is the legal definition. So like, I'm super curious to get into the mechanics of how it all works, like technically, but also before that, I want to know, like, what is your perception of what's going to happen? Because you're saying that all these homes were in forbearance and, they missed all these payments. Like, do you foresee like this massive wave of foreclosures coming eventually, or how do you foresee that?
Well, yeah, to answer that question directly, is there a tsunami of foreclosures coming? My answer is no, there is not. Okay. And here's the reason why. In March of 2020, that's when the CARES Act came out, forbearance occurred, foreclosures were not allowed. We have today over 1.6 million delinquent loans still from that forbearance period, and we have 500,000 new delinquent loans due to inflation and the economy since June of last year. So that's 2 million delinquent loans. Now, that's a lot of people. The foreclosure rate typically is $30,000 a month. Take 2 million, I don't have a calculator and I don't need one, but 2 million divided by 30,000 is a lot of foreclosing to do. So you need attorneys and you need companies to do that. Well, in June of 2020, I started getting LinkedIn messages from foreclosing attorneys, and they're saying, "Hey, can you show me how to do real estate? I want to learn real estate from you." And I'm like, "Oh wait, you're the devil, back, you know?" And they're like, "No, they fired my butt. You know, they let me go because it was a moratorium. They were not allowed to foreclose."
Yeah.
So all these law firms lost their foreclosing attorneys.
Yeah.
And so they're building them back up now. So when I'm doing a short sale, probably a third of the time, Ryan, the person we're negotiating with from the bank side says, "Hey, I'm handing you over to somebody else now because I'm being promoted and being moved to a supervisor." And I'm like, "Well, why is that?" "Because they're hiring more people to be able to foreclose, but they can't now. It's a slow process." And yes, foreclosures are increasing about 10% per month since the forbearance ended in July of 21. So they're slowly increasing, but there's no physical way for them to do that tsunami you hear about.
Yeah.
Okay.
The other thing I think about too is people like there's two reasons why I never thought there would be a big crash. One was like, hey, forbearance. People aren't just going to get foreclosed on tomorrow, and they obviously did that. Two was like equity. People have so much more equity in their home now than, you know, in the last time when there was all these foreclosures. And, you know, I was a realtor in 2010, and I remember from 2010 to 2012, this massive short sale boom because everyone was underwater. Like it was the only choice to do a deal. So like I felt like because there's a lot of equity, you're not going to see as many. And, you know, I just think like people are going to do whatever it takes to like save their home now, especially if they have like a low interest rate. And also too, a lot of those people in the CARES Act got like loan modifications as well. So like they're not even delinquent anymore. They just got a new loan.
Right. No, very good. And so I'm an engineer, a data junkie nerd.
Yeah.
So I'm going to bore a lot of people here.
Okay.
This is the way I am.
I'll try to make it somewhat exciting.
Yeah, you'll have to do that because I'm not the exciting person.
Okay.
Sometimes when I speak and teach, I fall asleep when I'm speaking. But, you know, there were 7.6 million people that went into that program. There are still 1.6 million delinquent loans. So you're correct. People were able to modify. Well, as you know, Ryan, interest rates have doubled. That option is now out.
Yep.
Nobody can do their loan modification, so that one is out. The other one is you can't fix your problem if you have no job. Right? So there are over 1 million job losses that are permanent from the pandemic that never came back. Okay? Mm-hmm. You pair that up with 1.6 million delinquent loans, there's no chance for them at all. Then the other one, this is a big one. People don't know this. Black Knight has a study over foreclosures over the past 30 years. You take these foreclosures that have happened over the past 30 years, and they looked at the statistics on that, and homes that had 40% equity, they could snap their fingers and sell that home on the MLS instantly. They didn't do it. 30% of them went to foreclosure. They lost their home. You weren't there, Ryan, to help them. I wasn't there to help them. 30% of those homes got foreclosed on. You could have stepped in and done a short sale in that situation. They do not, I'm going to repeat, do not have to be underwater. How do you define underwater, right? It's the eye of the beholder, right? Mm-hmm. It's what can the bank say the home is worth. And that's not even really what the bank's looking at. Silicon Valley Bank, right?
Yep.
Okay. Fiat currency, the dollar system. The banking system basically allows a bank to lend out like 15 times what they have in deposits. Yeah. So if you take a homeowner with a delinquent loan, a non-performing note, they have to take that 15 times off their books. So if they have a $100,000 loan, they have to take $1.5 million off their books. They would much rather have you step in and give them, say, $50,000 or $25,000 for that loan, because then they can go back out and loan that money out. And then if they get too many of those, the count of delinquent loans, the quantity gets too high, like Silicon Valley Bank, then the FDIC shuts them down. So they want to get them off their books. So there's a lot of factors that allow you to get a great price from the bank on a short sale in today's environment.
Mm-hmm. So let's walk through the process of how a short sale would work. So starting off, the person, to the definition, has to have missed a payment, right? So what are you doing? Are you just pulling these lists? I mean, they're public in most places, right? If somebody's missed a payment, and are you pulling them and then just contacting the owners? How's that work?
Yeah, the way I do it, the way I teach my students to do it is to go to the county. So all across the United States, every county has a legal newspaper. That legal newspaper is required by law in judicial and non-judicial states to post that name and address and legal description for a certain number of days. And that does vary from state to state. So I go to that legal newspaper directly on the day that it occurs and mail a letter by 5 p.m. that day. That's how I do it. I don't buy a list from a foreclosure.com type website that's not updated, old, and 5 days late, but rather I teach you to go to what's called the legal newspaper. That's where they publish divorces, government contracts, and foreclosures.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what you do. You go there and you mail them a letter. I'm a big believer in direct mail.
Okay.
Okay. SEO is great. Bandit signs are great. But I like something that's real easy for me to just pay somebody to write a letter. Okay.
So you don't do any like cold calling or texting or skip tracing?
You can do that.
Yeah.
But my philosophy is this. Mail a letter with my phone number, and if they call me, they want my help. So my rule was come about the 20th of the, because I want to do one a month. About the 20th of the month, if nobody's called me, then I get a little worried. So then I will outbound call to those people. So I'll skip trace, get their phone number.
Yep.
We call it skip tracing today, but back in my early days in 2009 and 10, it was actually the phone book. They really had phone numbers then.
You just go
now today you have to pay to skip trace them, right?
Yep.
And stuff. And so then I would call them at that point.
Okay.
And try and reach out if I didn't have that one short sale for the month yet.
So, obviously, if you miss one payment, you're not getting foreclosed on tomorrow. I think most states have just different foreclosure process.
Sure.
What is typical?
Well, it's interesting. You have two classifications, judicial and non-judicial. So in a non-judicial state, like mine in Missouri and Texas and Georgia, all they have to do is post the legal description and name for 21 days in Texas and Missouri, 30 days in Georgia, post it in the legal newspaper. That's it. Okay? That's all they have to do to take the house away from the homeowner. In a judicial state, they've got to do lis pendens and other notices, and it takes much longer, period of time. And so that's the only thing that really, that the bank has to do to cause that to happen.
I know in like Nevada, ours has always been like, after 90 days, they can then file like first you get like the notice, then after 90 days, they can file like the intent to foreclose, and then it goes in the legal news and it's like, hey, the auction's this day. And so I've been under the gun many times where we'll get a property and we're like, dang, dude, this thing's like getting foreclosed on next week. We got to roll right now and get this thing saved. Yeah,
all the time. And you almost have to be prepared to handle it that way. I mean, being from Missouri and it being 21 days with no other filings, I literally every single time only have 21 days.
Yeah.
And that's if they call me on that very first day. So that's kind of a normal mode. So you have to kind of learn techniques on how do you stop the bank from doing the foreclosure so you can then turn around and do the short sale.
Right. You're just trying to buy more time.
Right. You have to stop that date so that you can then go into the much longer process of the short sale negotiation with the bank. So you get a homeowner, they got a foreclosure happening in 2 weeks, and you're like, hey, you're going to lose it if we don't do something. Is the first thing you do try to get them under contract at a price, or what's your philosophy? Well, there's a series of questions in a certain order you go through with the homeowner in discovering whether this is going to be a short sale you want to work on or not. Right. And so that process super quickly is the first question you ask them is, do you want to sell the house or do you want to keep the house? I say, here's the advantage that, and why we're successful, I'm successful in short sales, is you've got all these wholesalers and the big companies and, mass market and these, wholesaling companies saying, I'm going to give you a cash offer at this really low number, right? Right. And so they're sick and tired of hearing that over and over. What if you said to them, do you want to sell your house or do you want to keep it? I can help you keep your house. Now they just threw away all the other letters and all the phone calls from the wholesaler people that are offering lowball cash offers. Right. Now the slightly smarter ones are the creative financing. well, we can do subject to and give. So there's like a little level above the cash offer.
Yep.
But here's a short sale is the higher offer, help you to actually keep your house. Now, in reality, will they be able to? There are options that you take them through, but 80% of the time, Ryan, the option comes back to you don't have any choice really but to do the short sale. They can't qualify for loan modification and other options. They don't have the rich uncle to catch up their payment,
right?
And things like that. So you are basically trying to have a heart to help the family out. Okay.
So you're going in there, from what it sounds like to me, with like, hey, I'm just here to help you. And that may involve me not buying your home. And like, I might, as we go through this process, I might help you keep the home if that's what you're able to do. But if not, then, we're going to do a deal and you're going to sell me the home, essentially.
Yes. And the option on the, thing of if they can't do that loan modification, and they can't.
That's basically
the
only way to keep it. Catch the loan up or get a loan mod.
And so then the other side is, if they don't do anything with you, then they get foreclosed on. They get a huge credit hit for 7 years and 350 points. If you do the short sale, it's 50 points in 1 year. You get them money from the bank and you get them time in the house. And that's actually the biggest factor we found out that people care about is, instead of being out in the next 30 days or 21 days, that the short sale takes 3, 4, 5, 6 months, that they can stay in the house not making their payment. That's actually the biggest motivating factor.
6 months
for
rent
people.
free is
exactly. Well, they're saving their money up to be able to start over
on
it, and so that's actually the biggest factor. When you present that to them, they almost always take that option.
Yeah, like you're getting foreclosed on, and you got to be out here now,
right. Yes.
Or we're going to negotiate this thing, and you can stay as long as they let you, which can be 3 to 6 months.
Yeah, and then price of the house isn't really a factor anymore with them. So, a lot of people, what do us real estate investors complain about? We complain about being able to find houses, right? Nobody can find houses right now. Okay, now we think it's going to turn a little bit because homeowners are finally coming out of the clouds with their prices they want, a little bit with it. But in the short sale system, the homeowner doesn't care what the price is. So you're not arguing anymore with the homeowner.
Yeah, because they don't have the equity to be fighting
and
over.
So the other thing is there are no other buyers in a short sale. Okay, so now when you're talking to that homeowner and they've agreed and found out and accepted that the short sale is a method to help them get the most out of this deal versus losing the home, then the way you handle the price of that is, and this is kind of a little ninja secret we're going to give away here on our talk, is that you put an offer in really, really low.
Right.
Okay. Now, what you say to the homeowner is this: we have to stop the foreclosure, ma'am. That's our main goal right now. And to do that, and I say, now you don't do short sales with you. You're not going to steal my secret, are you? No, I'm just an old lady. Okay, well, I'm going to tell you this. Here's my ninja secret. I need to turn an offer in for cash as is, really, really low, to scare the bank. See, I want to scare the bank to stop the foreclosure. See, they think this thing is worth $500,000. They want to steal the house from you. Okay, so we're going to scare them and make them think that there's something wrong with the house so that they'll stop and come out and look at it. So I got this $35,000 offer to scare the bank. Now, do you think I should lower it? Yeah, lower it. Lower it to 25. So the homeowner literally says, lower it. So now I'm turning into the bank a $25,000 offer as an example, and I can always come up later.
But you don't go that extreme, do you?
Oh, absolutely.
Really?
No
on a $500,000 home?
No doubt about it. Okay, so, well.
Hey, if you're looking to grow your real estate investing business, whether you're just getting started trying to get your first deal or you're trying to scale and get to the next level, you need to join us at Wealthy Investor. We've got events every single quarter that are absolutely crazy. We've got online coaching programs where we have Zoom calls, a community every single week. We give you everything you need to know to start your business, scripts, processes, SOPs, all of it. It's for you so that you can dominate. So if you want to learn more about how to join our community and be mentored by me and some of our top coaches and be around other students who are absolutely crushing it, go to wealthyinvestor.com, apply for a free call with my team. Once again, wealthyinvestor.com, apply for a call today.
Listen, I'll tell you, here's another ninja trick. Okay. That me and my students have been finding out consistently to watch out for. This has really hurt us badly, is that we have lost 2 short sale deals because we convinced the bank that the home was worth $20,000 and $22,000. And so we're ready to get the approval letter to close on the house. Now, these houses are only worth $200,000. Okay, so I mean, it's not 500 was just an example.
Yeah.
Okay, 80 or whatever. But these are real life examples where the houses were worth 200 and 220. We turned in offers of like $20,000 and $22,000. The bank approved them, but then they did something I've never seen in my life after that.
What?
They released the deed.
Huh?
They didn't they didn't do the they released the deed.
They wanted to write the home off or what?
Yeah, they gave the owner the house back. There was no sale. We got the shaft.
Yeah, the homeowner got a free home.
Yeah, exactly. And when they figured that out, what are they going to do? They're going to ghost you.
Yeah.
Right? Of course. They just got a free house. So my point is, be careful. If you're doing short sales, don't go less than $25,000 on your offer, because the banks, for some reason, are saying it's easier and quicker
to write it off.
Just to release that deed. It's a single piece of paper for them, and then, you have no way to buy the house with it, because the homeowner's like, you and I own it?
Yeah. I've never heard of that one.
Well, and I haven't either. This is just recent. See, people don't understand that the banks are dumping the houses right now. They're dumping them. They're waiting for you to turn an offer in, because this moratorium and this backlog of 1.6 million delinquent loans, and now because of the inflation, gas prices went up, food prices went up, right? Okay, so what's happened is, what do? You stop making your house payment. Mm-hmm. So we now have, as of January of 2023, 540,000 additional delinquent loans. We're now at over 2 million delinquent loans out there because of the economy with it. And so, so there's a lot, to deal with on that.
Right. So, you negotiate with the bank. Well, first off, to go back to it, you got the offer, super low ball.
Yes.
But, to those listening who think it's crazy, it's like, to both of our points, the seller's not making money from like any equity, right? So it's like, let's just use the example of $300,000 is what the home's worth, right? And they owe, just say, $350,000, right? Like, they're not making money. They wouldn't sell it and make any money at all. So whether or not you get the bank to approve it for $200,000 versus, $250,000, it really doesn't matter. That's the seller's, it's really only for the buyer, right? And if the buyer's able to make more money, they're able to give the seller more concessions on other things too.
Not quite.
Well, legally, I guess.
Yes,
legally,
exactly. Yes.
Right. So with just this negotiation tactic, right? So you're offering low, you're stopping the sale, right, by submitting an offer. Like, hey, we got an offer, we're working it. Stop the sale. What happens there, right? Some city or some places you got to hire an actual attorney to start working the short sale. Like, what have you seen?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Only in the state of California and Florida does a person need to have a realtor's license or be an attorney to negotiate with the bank. In all of those states, your common person can do the short sale processing, short sale negotiation.
Okay. It seems like most people just hire an attorney because they don't know what to do.
Exactly.
Right.
It's a big mistake.
Yeah. So you're negotiating directly with the bank, but how's this process end up playing out?
Well, so first, as you've talked about, we have to stop that foreclosure date. Once we have that process, that step completed, we now have like a lot of time to then do the paperwork. And so the paperwork consists of two things: sending in the RMA document, the bank's request for mortgage assistance, which says, okay, give me some bank statements, give me some pay stubs. Let's see if they qualify for the short sale. If they got $100,000 in cash in the bank, you're not going to do a short sale, and you don't want to work with those people. Okay. Right. They took a mortgage, they took on debt, and if they can
they've got to qualify.
Yeah, you're trying to help families that need your help, that had a death in the family, a divorce, health issues,
job loss.
A job loss. Yeah, you're trying to help them out of a financial situation that they're in, so that you can help them change their lives. That's the whole point to why you're doing this. This is why my wife and I started doing this together. We just didn't know we can make so much money at it.
Right.
Till later. So basically, you're trying to get that, in through to the bank as, the documents to prove it, that they want, along with realtor documents. So two packages. In the realtor document package is, a listing agreement, purchase sale contract, which must be cash as is, and have other statements that are on it. You probably remember the horrible thing that people say about short sales. Well, they lost my paperwork. I don't want to ever do one again. They lose my paperwork. You know what? They didn't lose it. Okay? They don't lose your paperwork. It's almost impossible to lose it. Here's what happened. You filled it out wrong, and they threw it in the trash. And here's why. They're not being paid to teach you on the phone how to fill out the paperwork correctly. There are certain statements on the documents, both purchase, sale, listing agreement, and other documents that you turn in that have to be there. Otherwise, it's not going to qualify for a short sale review. So they didn't lose it. You filled it out wrong, and they threw it away. And they're not going to try to train you on how to do them. So a lot of people complain about that. So you turn in the realtor documents correctly, and then you turn in a repair estimate and contractor repair estimate and comps, sold comps, and maybe a letter of explanation. That starts your entire negotiation process with the bank. So you stop foreclosure, do a bunch of paperwork, and then you basically call for a BPO or an appraisal on the house. And that's kind of, how you start the short sale process at that point.
So, BPO stands for broker price opinion, and they're just basically, it's like, I guess, a lesser appraisal, and they'll just be like, yeah, I think it's worth whatever. From there, the bank then just, does whatever they do behind the scenes, and which usually takes months from my experience. And eventually they come back at you with usually some kind of counter offer. Do you know why the bank takes so long? Is it just processing all this paperwork? They have just so much to do, or?
Yeah, it really is being staffed to handle the review process. And so that's why we're not seeing the tsunami of foreclosures, okay, is because there isn't the staff to, process that paperwork. So you can drive it if here's another little neat trick on the phone. As soon as you call into the bank, okay, don't speak to customer service, okay? Ask for a supervisor, okay? The person that answers the phone is just a, $15 an hour, maybe it's $25 now, but, a low-paid person just to answer the phone. They're not authorized to make any decisions.
Right.
So immediately ask for a supervisor. That's how you can almost cut your time down in half on a short sale, is to get straight to a supervisor so that you can get your file looked at more directly and, to be able to do that quickly.
Okay, that makes sense. So you're trying to get a supervisor, you're submitting all these documents. At some point, they're going to get reviewed if you did them right, and then they're going to basically give you a counter offer, and then, if you don't like it, you're going to recounter them, and then it just kind of goes through the process again.
Yeah, there's longer steps to that. So what happens is they send out that BPO agent or even an appraiser. So in the case of FHA short sales where the homeowner had an FHA loan, they actually require to do a full appraisal. I mean, like by the book.
Wow.
FHA guidelines. And those are the tougher ones. You're not going to make as much money on those. Yet I just had 2 students in the past 2 months, each make over $100,000 profit on their first short sale, and they were both FHAs. Okay. Now, what happens is in that BPO, there are going to be errors. And so that's what you do in that dispute process. So when they give you that it's not really actually called a counter offer because they don't care about your offer.
Right.
So they're not countering what you turned in. They are telling you what the price of the house is. It's like, that's definitive. Yeah. So you are going to dispute what they turned in, from their appraiser, that you get a copy of that document, and then you're going to pick parts of a way to either change the value or actually cause another appraisal to occur and try again and do a better job with the next appraiser. So you have to be at the house when that person shows up. I've lost 3 short sales in 13 years, and all of them were because I was not at the house when the appraiser or BPO agent showed up. They knocked on the door and the homeowner let them in. I'm like, are you crazy? Did you just let strangers in your house? I have to be there, okay? Because there's a process and things you have to give to that bank's agent, appraiser that they send out to help them do their job,
right?
Okay, at the house,
right?
Okay, and so that's the key, is to get a proper interior value of the home. Don't let them do a drive-by
Yeah.
on it. That's the key to the process.
Yeah. We tell our students that on the opposite way with the flips, when we're trying to get a good appraisal, so that it doesn't go under and it screw up the deal. I hadn't done it in years, but I did recently do it on my new home because I was refinancing it. And I was like, all right, I got to meet the appraiser there. Like, we put over $1 million into rehab, and I'm like, I got to get a good appraisal for my cash out refi. And so, I met the appraiser there, pointed out all the great things with the home, how much things cost and the details and the expenses, and ended up getting an appraisal at 3.9, which I was really happy with. But yeah, if I would have not shown up, I guarantee the appraisal would have been different.
Yeah, and it's like on the short sale side, everything you said to the opposite.
Yeah.
You don't put the cookies in the oven. In the house, you're going to show them all the things that are wrong, that need repairs.
Yep.
When you go by the granite countertops, you're going to put your coat out really wide so they don't see the granite as you walk through the kitchen, and then you just show them, let them see the repair estimate, that you have from a contractor,
right,
so that they can properly do the as-is valuation. That's
right.
Exactly right.
100%. So eventually, let's just say they agree. Well, they don't agree, but they give you a price that you're willing to pay, right? At this point, the seller couldn't do a loan mod or anything, right? That's why we're down this process. So now it's kind of the crappy part for the seller, because like, all right, well, it's approved, so we're going to buy the house, and that means you're going to have to move. But I know there's a lot of things like relocation expenses and other things that you're able to get for the seller. How's all that work?
Yeah, it's all handled by the bank. And so, federal law forbids you from selling the house back to them and forbids you from renting it back to them.
Right.
So don't get caught in that trap, because you both go to jail.
Yeah.
That's federal.
Right.
Okay. Now, can you buy the refrigerator for $2,000 with a bill of sale? You might be able to, but you can't bribe them to do the short sale in the first place.
Yeah.
Okay. Now,
and I will say we have done like that before, where we buy their furniture and stuff like that.
You want to help the family out, okay?
Yeah.
And they got a bad deal to begin with from the bank. Now the way I do it, I'm very, I don't want to get in a position of looking like, I bribed them to do the short sale. So I'll actually have them put something on Craigslist for sale, and I'll respond to the Craigslist ad and buy it. No one else will show up to buy it.
Right.
So I've got a documented Craigslist ad. I went there and bought, it's the same person. I didn't know it was the same person. And so I bought it, and then I give it away to somebody else.
Yeah.
Right. And stuff like that. So yeah, that's there's so many advantages for them in the short sale, because they got that time to save their money up. The bank's going to pay them about $3,000 to move on the closing.
Right.
With it, then they don't have the hit to their credit. So it really helps them to be able to get another place, to live. So there's a lot of incentives for them to come to closing, to finish that process with it. And, they did the short sale in the first place because they probably didn't want the house. It had repairs that were needed. They were out of money for a long time. The roof was leaking. The basement was leaking. They don't often want to stay in the house. 80% of the people that I do short sales with don't want the house.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, they're over it.
It's more a question of, can you help them find another place to move to rent?
Right.
So you kind of get some local, places in town where they can go, to and get a rental from somewhere. That's probably the big thing that helps them get out more easily.
That makes sense. So yeah, I remember back, so I became a realtor in 2010, and that was after like the biggest foreclosure ever. Right. So Vegas was hit harder than any other market. And I literally remember there was 9 months of inventory, which people were freaking out about, 4 months of inventory here, and I'm like, guys, I've seen what having inventory looks like. This ain't it. And back then everything was a foreclosure. So it was like an REO, just purchase. And then around 2010, 2011, all the hedge funds started buying all those homes up, and inventory started dropping pretty quickly. And it became that there weren't really any REOs on the market anymore, but there was a bunch of short sales, because it was this weird point in time where no one had equity who still had a home. They had all refinanced or bought at the peak or whatever, right? And so short sales were huge. And I remember doing a bunch of them as like a buyer's agent. And there's just terrible. Like it would take 6-12 months. And, you do all this work for the same amount of pay as an agent. Whereas as an investor, it's worth it because you're getting a really good price. But I remember back then hearing about these relocation fees. And at that time, they were doing crazy fees. It was like, I would hear stories about them paying these owners 30, 40 grand to just walk away. It was nuts.
Yeah, there was some special programs. Even in Missouri, we had one at $10,000.
Yeah.
For that, and so that was really, I really liked that because it really did make a better difference in the family's life than $3,000.
Yeah.
With it and stuff. But those were programs that were created that probably aren't there at this point in time with it,
right,
because there isn't that tsunami of those. And keep in mind, I've been doing these short sales for 13 years. I didn't get the memo to quit. You don't need a tsunami to do short sales. Okay, this is an area for you to learn how to buy houses, to be successful, that you can rehab, or you can wholesale, or you can make them rentals.
Yeah.
So you have multiple exit strategies. When I bought a house for $29,600, okay, that I sold for $279,000. Okay. Now I did put 80 in it, because I did sell it for $279. I could have rented that house out. So I could have had your slum landlord pricing housing in my $2,000 a month rental neighborhood. Okay. So, there's a lot of, exit strategies, and you don't need a lot. In my county, we had 40 per month. I only wanted one.
Yeah.
Okay. And then next month there was another 40. I needed one. Next month, another 40. This isn't the $5,000 a month wholesaling systems of mass marketing and mass letters. I'm mailing to just 40 people.
Right.
That's all I'm doing. This is not
just trying to be a niche specialist.
Yeah, right. Become good at this, make a lot of money at it so that you can branch into other areas and other things in real estate with it. Airbnb, rentals. I don't really believe in rentals myself. Rentals don't do you any good. Okay, here was my problem. I'll just be honest with you.
I got to hear it.
I've got this house all fixed up, ready to go. I wanted to rent it. I had an original plan of 5 houses per year for 5 years for 25 houses, free and clear at $1,000. That was my original game plan. But when I got the house finished, fixed up, and ready to go, I try to rent it, and a realtor steps in with a cash buyer or a bank qualified buyer, and then I'm looking at, okay, do I want to make $100,000 profit, or do I want $200 monthly?
Right.
100,000 or 200.
Yeah.
I took the 100,000.
Yeah.
That's why I've got $3 million in my retirement accounts that I lend out, is because that kept happening. Okay.
Yeah.
The renters, and I tried the year and a day program, lease with option to purchase. I tried that, but those people wouldn't get off their big fat sofa fast enough to decide they wanted the house, and a realtor had a buyer ready to go. And so I took the cash. Okay.
Yeah.
And I made lots of money. $3 million is what my wife didn't see in my retirement accounts. I made a lot more than that.
Yeah.
So I do my business, and a lot of real estate investors, I don't think, take this into account. Real estate is a fantastic industry. You know that. You've taken advantage of it so many ways.
Yeah.
You're so experienced in everything that you've done with rentals, rehabs, and all the businesses you have. But a lot of people don't understand you can do almost everything you're talking about in your retirement accounts, in your IRAs.
Yeah.
And they don't understand to mix that in with it as you go along. So what I did was, in my LLC, I made enough money each year to make my wife happy. And when she was done spending money for the year, then I just did the rest of them in my retirement accounts. Okay? And so, I don't need to have a lot of excess money sitting here in a taxable account.
Right.
So why not do it in retirement accounts so that it's tax free? If I make money in a Roth IRA over 10 years that never gets taxed, that grows as I do more investments, it's only a 10% penalty to take it out, Ryan. 10% penalty.
If you really needed it.
If you took it out early, yeah. That's so. If I'm able to
I've paid much more than 10% on different things.
Yeah, well, exactly. But when that money is, when you do a deal as a regular LLC, you pay taxes every year. You're required to. So you just lost 20, 30, or 40% of your income that you couldn't do another deal with. If you did them in your IRA and made more deals and you made more profit, you could literally take a 10% haircut on that. And I'm only saying this to try to convince people less than the age of 50 to consider using their IRAs and retirement accounts and 401ks in real estate as you go along in the process.
Yeah, no, 100%. I had one of my friends, Greg Herline, on. He's actually speaking at WealthCon, which by the time this airs will have already happened. But yeah, he runs an IRA, self-directed company, and we were talking about that on one of the shows of just like, hey, man, this is such a big opportunity. I personally don't talk about it enough, but yeah, I mean, you can make millions and millions tax-free just doing everything within the IRA.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you can actually even avoid the 10% penalty with a code called 72T.
Which one is that? What does it do?
Well, what it does is it takes a traditional IRA and says, if I take out the money on equal payments over my projected lifetime, there's no penalty, and I can get that money out. Okay. So
if you need a little lick, you're good.
Yeah. If you, I mean, it just depends on how much money you want to spend in your life. I'm not a big, I don't need to have a lot of money sitting around being taxed by the government. I'd much rather be doing these investments that are tax-free forever, like in my Roth.
Right.
Okay. And the only, issue in real estate you have to watch out for is, it's prohibited for you to, do any activity in that. So if you buy a rehab house, you can't physically rehab it in your IRA. Okay. You can't do any kind of service or work. So you have to hire out all contractors. Mm-hmm. So there's just, some things you have to watch out for when you do that.
Yeah.
Okay. But then that's great because I don't think you should be doing the work in the rehab anyway.
You're right.
Right? I mean, I'm an engineer. I couldn't hit a nail with a hammer to save my life.
Me either.
So I started out paying professionals to rehab my houses. And so I could do many more per year that way instead of, doing it myself.
Yeah.
On it.
No, I'm with you on that. You don't want to see me hit a nail. It's not pretty.
Yes.
So, I mean, I'm with you. I think short sales are a great avenue for people to get started and get some really juicy deals, right? Like, at the end of the day, you're helping someone. The negotiation is far simpler because you're not like taking money out of their pocket, right? Like, I think it's different when you're doing a traditional deal where you're trying to beat them up over price, and like that is you directly taking from their pocket, whereas the short sales taking from the bank's pocket. And, you're getting them more time, all these things. They're always going to be around. It's not like a skill that's going to change over time. Like, I've seen the waves of marketing in the last 10 years when it comes to trying to go get deals. Like, I remember when nobody was texting and cold calling. And so like the returns were crazy. And then, they cracked down on it. And, like I've been sued for cold calling. I've had to pay out, pretty significant settlement for it, even though it was like bogus. But nonetheless, you see that, and then you see like direct mail. It's been around a long time, but 10 years ago, it was a lot easier to do direct mail than it is today. And, we do TV commercials now, and you just see all these different forms of marketing come and go. But like short sales and foreclosures will always be around. It's like a skill that just won't go away.
Yeah, there's a lot of divorce in this country.
Yeah.
Right there, and we have a lot of older population. And something kind of interesting I've seen in the past 3 years is 30% of my short sales are probate. So what I think happened was a lot of old people died during that time frame, and now the kids got this house and they don't make the payments on it, and so now they're becoming foreclosures and delinquent loans and stuff. Right. And so it's kind of an interesting perspective of how that kind of changes over time. So it adds another little layer of how you do the short sale. When the person, the borrower, is dead.
Right.
And so it becomes real interesting.
Yeah, we've done some creative finance stuff with dead owners, taking over their loans and stuff, because it's just like they're dead. Right. Like it doesn't matter.
Yes.
How often are you going the creative finance route?
You know what? Almost none.
Okay.
And here's why. that one house I said I bought for $29,600. You can look it up in public records. The loan on it was $202,000.
Right.
The bank's first offer was $196,000.
Right.
Okay, it was worth like $279,000. Most people maybe would have done some kind of creative finance on that, but if you had the ability to convince the bank it was worth $29,600, which would you rather have? Paying off a loan at $196,000 with payments from your renter? That's great. Zero. I mean, creative finance is great, but would you rather instead find $29,000 in cash, which you can borrow from a hard money lender, and own a house now with that much more equity? So I don't do as much creative financing. I actually pass on them. I pass them along to other real estate investors in my area because I want that $200,000 in equity from the house. I can come up with the $29,000. I can borrow the $29,000. I'd actually would rather have a loan on the house at $29,600 with a hard money lender, okay, at their rates than I would at $196,000 at 3% interest.
I would still have a hard money lender at $150,000.
So for me, while I understand creative financing, it's a very smart way to go, and that is only for the homeowners who say, no way in heck am I doing a short sale. My house has $100,000 in equity, and I know it, and I don't need to sell this house. They simply want to sell the house.
Right.
And remember, you're helping those 30% of the population that have 40% equity that would have gone to foreclosure in the first place.
Right.
Okay, one per month. This isn't 20 wholesales a month.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a unique niche area that is helping families out.
Yeah.
You have to have that heart to help the family out. I'm not emphasizing that enough. You really have to have that heart to help matter of fact, someone who in 2009 who lost their house herself is one of the best students to learn to do short sales, because when you're on the phone, you can say, hey, I went through this in 2010. I know how you feel.
Exactly.
Okay. And
perspective.
And as you know, it's all about know, like, and trust, right?
Yep.
That you should know all about short sales to do it. You need to be knowledgeable. But with the homeowner on the phone, they just need to know that you care about them. Okay. You don't have to impress them with your knowledge of, FHA is a full appraisal and Fannie Mae is a
they
BPO.
don't care about
They
that.
don't care about that.
No.
They need to know that you can help them.
Yeah.
And so knowing that you went through it in the past, sometimes are the best people to
Very
do
comforting.
short sales.
Yeah, personally, I never did, but my parents' house did. And so I always would use that story.
Exactly, yes.
Right? Like, my parents went through it. I remember I was 18 years old, like seeing the house we grew up in foreclosed on. It was devastating.
Perfect.
And totally relate to that. So I know you have another training about short sales. I mean, we've gone into it in depth pretty good, but you got a free training. I think it's on your website. What is it?
Yeah, I've got a really cool website, thedavidrandolph.com.
Okay.
THE. Well, what is that? Well, someone had davidrandolph.com taken.
Yep.
And I'm like, well, nuts, And then somebody said to me, wait a minute, aren't you the David? Yeah, I'm the David. So I took that website out, and I got a workshops and trainings tab there with it and stuff. And so I've got a free document, a video, and slides that shows you more about short sales.
Yeah.
Okay. You don't have to buy anything from me. You can find out about this, lead magnet type thing of teaching you what they are, because we've done a lot of stuff, and you're knowledgeable on short sales, so we have a great conversation with it and stuff. But there's a lot more to the process.
Oh, there's a lot more in the
stuff.
details.
And so they can go to my website and get that.
I think
place. They can go to thedavidrandolph.com/wealthy.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, cool. We
And
got
they can
something
get a
for you
free,
guys.
freebie. I love, giving people, giving stuff to people and helping them out.
Yeah.
Okay. Call me with a question on a short sale. There's nobody out there doing them. And so when somebody calls me with a question, I'm like, oh, cool. I can answer that question. I want to help you. We're helping families out, and they need our help.
Yeah. We were talking about this before show, but you were saying too, like, people can text you as well.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know if you want to put your number out, but
it's your people are real estate investors.
Yeah.
Okay. My number is 636-685-2990. They can text wealthy to me, and they can get that same document.
There you go.
If they're listening to this on any of your channels, and just remember, text me a question about short sales.
Yeah.
On it. I love answering questions.
You're a brave man. You're going to get a lot of wealthy text.
Look, it's it's about using real estate to change your life.
Right.
Okay. And I firmly believe you should learn one way and be really good at it.
Yeah.
Okay. And you want to pick a way, in my opinion, that's going to make the most money.
Yeah.
And right now, the banks, I'm serious, are dumping the houses, Ryan. They're dumping them and nobody knows about it. They can't sell a house if they don't own it. They can't own it unless they foreclose on it. They can't foreclose on it because there's not the foreclosure companies to do it.
Right.
Okay. The CFPB, Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, forbids them from doing it. There's staged steps on who they have to foreclose on in what order.
Right.
Okay. And so, not that I feel too sorry for the banks, but they actually, have, the government's actually controlling them from doing that. And that's all where you can step in and help that family out. Because when that time ends for them in that type forbearance type system, you now move into the short sale process. And they get another 3 months, 6 months, time frame. So it's a great win-win for everybody, including the banks.
Yeah. I think one piece that was interesting to me when I was learning about you is you talked about how obviously you got into real estate and short sales and you fell into this niche, but you were like a chemical engineer before, and then you retired from that and homeschooled your kids.
Yeah.
And I'm a homeschool guy. So, well, I wasn't a homeschool kid. I'm going to be a homeschool dad. So why'd you do that?
Well, I tell you, it's funny. In high school, I got all A's except for one C in choir. And the teacher said, you flunked it, but nobody flunks choir, so I'm giving you a C. So I became an engineer at that point in high school because, I can't sing, I can't dance, I can't do anything. And so I went in the corporate world, Ryan, okay, as an engineer, making a lot of money, working 80 hours a week, and was barely providing for my family.
Ow.
And in that company, I'm developing patents and doing other things. And then my head of personnel says, well, you're not going to ever get a raise because no one makes more than the president of the company. And I said, well, give the president a raise so I can have one. So, in the corporate world, you get stopped out.
Yeah.
So I became a real estate investor. And so what happened was, I had homeschooled my kids, okay, because that was more important to me. Real estate was able to provide the income, for me to be able to do that, okay, to step away from the corporate job and to be able to do real estate. And so that was kind of how I got into it, on a real quick story, of that was the corporate world is a dead end on it and stuff. And real estate
that's always been my message to people is like, look, you don't have to work your 9 to 5. Like there are alternatives out there. Everyone listening to this can become an entrepreneur. And I believe anyone can do real estate. Would you agree?
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. Like I see obviously very intelligent people succeed in it. And then I see some of the dumbest people I know have success in real estate because they're just, they get after it and they figure out ways to hustle and get deals and make money. And I'm just like, dude, real estate it changed my life as a jock athlete who didn't have like skills to go do any kind of business or anything like I had to hustle and figure it out. And like real estate continues to provide for my family and give me a platform and everything else. And so like, if you're passionate about homeschooling your kids or having a better life or making more money or whatever else, like real estate can definitely be the vehicle to do it.
Right. Yeah. Now as an engineer, I did kind of cheat. I bought education and training and materials, and coaching, to get into that quickly and to learn it because, as an engineer, I use processes and checklists. And that's really why I've been successful over time is, to be able to take what, works and then make it better and then, apply that in a system. And so if you know what works and you have a heart and a passion to do it, you can be very successful in real estate, but you don't reinvent the wheel in real estate. Okay, there's so much ways out there for you to learn how to do wholesaling, probate, tax liens, free and clears, tired landlords.
Are you doing everything yourself?
Well, sort of yes and no. I mean, I'm not, a big, company.
You said, your goal is like, hey, I want to just do like 10 deals a year and I'm good.
Right. I mean, I hired a bookkeeper who was my assistant. Okay. And so, the first thing you do after you make some money is you stop doing some of the paperwork and some of the mundane stuff.
Yep.
So I so I made a lot of money, took that money to spend on hiring people. Okay. And so I hired a realtor that I paid an hourly wage to sell my houses. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, my process, it sells in 7 days or less. So I didn't want to pay a commission because my system was better than theirs. So I paid them an hourly wage to work for me. The second step I did was I paid a rehab manager to manage my rehabs an hourly wage. Mm-hmm. She followed my checklist and she followed my, procedures for how you do a rehab. Mm-hmm. Okay. So yeah, I, hired those people in those areas, to be in my business, to be able to step back and, do different things, which is why I now teach short sales. Okay. It's because I love the, others people making that kind of money on it and them getting out of their jobs and quitting it and stuff. I actually don't even like the rehabs anymore.
Yeah.
For a couple of hundred, with it and stuff like that. And so, it's, for me, it's about quality of life and what you do. And real estate gives you those opportunities with it and stuff.
Yeah. No, real estate's amazing. How was it homeschooling?
It was really interesting. As the engineer, when we got into high school, my wife was like, oh no, what do we do now? We've been homeschooling since second grade. She was handling that. I was working the corporate job. Got to the high school, you got to take those math and sciences more, and you want to be there for your child to grow in what area they want. So that's basically, I'm an engineer, honey. I can handle this. Okay, so I quit my job, and so I homeschooled. There was one problem with it. They graduated and stuff. But in that process, my son has become, he just took the bar exam to be an attorney, and my daughter is now a doctor, all from homeschooling, because you could customize that, education for your child to fit the best in their learning style.
Yeah.
If I can brag a little on my kids, my son actually got a 34 out of 36 on the ACT. Mm-hmm. They paid him to go to college. It was actually interesting. How you want to teach your kids to be entrepreneurs, right? And I wish that I had done that at a younger age,
yeah.
But I didn't start the real estate till they're getting out of high school.
Right.
And so it was a little bit late for it. So, but the concept here was, look, son, if they're going to pay you $1,000 a semester in your checking account after room, board, and tuition and food, heck, why don't you just go ahead and go there, and learn, see what you want to learn.
Yeah.
Then make that decision to be an entrepreneur. Look into accounting, look into chemistry, look into software, and try some of that for 4 years, and then make that decision where you want to go to. So it was a blessing, really, truly a blessing for my wife and I. We thank God that we were able to have that avenue, and be introduced to homeschooling, to do that, because it really, changed our lives as Christians.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm really excited to homeschool as well. Obviously for the faith element as well, which is the school system's teaching these crazy things that they teach these days. It's like freaking this whole gender debate, and like they're teaching these kids this stuff at like 7 years old, and like just it's ridiculous. So I think from the front of the morality standpoint of it, plus being able to train them and teach them on what I want to teach them, is very important, because I'm gonna teach them the applicable things that are actually needed in life. Mm-hmm. And I'm excited for it. It's just kind of funny because like homeschooling, I guess when you did it, which would have been how long ago? Like
about 20
years ago, right. It had like this super weird stigma to it. Mm-hmm. And now I think it's becoming a lot more common and a lot more like, oh yeah, that makes sense why you'd want to do it.
Well, and what happened was colleges now accept it and give grants for it. You actually have an advantage over other students now, because like my son, 34 out of 36, my daughter, 32 out of 36, homeschooled. Now the colleges, over the past 10 years, 5 years, have started to go, hey, wait, let's seek out the homeschooling student. Well, let's give them a scholarship or a grant. So you're absolutely right. We have an advantage. The public school systems are in a situation where they have to kind of teach to the dumbest student.
Right.
Right. Okay. And I don't use the word dumbest as a mean word, but just like the lowest level of the ability to teach somebody in that class so they leave nobody behind.
Yeah.
But that's not what you want for your child. You want your child to excel in everything that God has for him in their life, okay?
Yep.
And to be able to teach them for that, that 10 or 15 years,
Yeah.
so that when they graduate, then they are in a position to go where God has them called to, not where the public school said, this is all you could get in training, because
Right.
this is our limitations on funding and what we can offer.
Yeah.
The only thing I would give advice to people that are getting into homeschooling is, you can pick your curriculum, okay, but get involved with other homeschooling families.
Mm-hmm.
Don't do it as a silo or a solo homeschooling family. Join with others in your community, because there's a lot of power in that. Because one of the biggest complaints is, there's no social, there's nothing social for the kids. They're going to grow up being a freak. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's not going to happen if you join with other homeschooling kids. Like we used to go and take in St. Louis a group of homeschooling students to the United Nations
Oh, jeez.
in New York, underground in the building, and we would lobby. Okay, this wasn't your tour pass up above. Okay, this was actually being a lobbyist in the that's where real things are. It's underground. The United Nations is really under the ground, and the floors that are below, that's where the delegates are. We were down there lobbying about Christian values, okay, and trying to change that. I don't know what to say about the United Nations kindly, but let's just try to say we're trying to change the direction of the United Nations,
Right.
and bring a Christian perspective to it. Join with other homeschooling families. You can do a lot of things, with them, and then now you get that social, atmosphere that they say homeschooling lacks.
Yeah. No, I've got a lot of friends who are in the Christian co-ops and stuff, and so they speak very highly of it. And I think, even for us, our kids are young, so they're just now about to get entered into school. But social media and everything has connected people so much more than 20 years ago that it's like getting actual social interaction while being homeschooled is not difficult in today's society.
Right.
So I'm excited about it. I'm also excited to see where kind of the world goes with that. I think a lot of entrepreneurs especially are going to take their kids out of school, because by nature, we as entrepreneurs want to be in control. We don't want
Yes.
people telling us what to do.
Exactly.
Like when I can take my kids to vacation and we're rolling. So
Right.
I'm excited about that. But David, dude, it's been great meeting you, man. I'm happy to connect on, these values and short sales and helping people. And we're going to link to everything you mentioned down below. You guys got David's number and website to get the free training and all that. And just want to thank you for coming out to Vegas, man, and spending some time sharing the process of short sales. I'm sure it's going to help a lot of people.
Yeah, Ryan, I really appreciate what you do in real estate and in business. You are leading people forward in business and real estate and showing them it can be done and how to do it and stuff. And so you've been successful. I really admire that, in what you've done. You've been able to, show people you can be this way, it can be this way, it can be this way. You've got a lot of ways for people to use real estate to change their lives and to change their families. So I really appreciate what you've done for everybody in the industry.
Thank you. Well, guys, go check all that stuff out and make sure you're subscribed so you can see a next episode of the podcast. We'll see you later. Peace. Hey, I hope you enjoyed that podcast. Thanks for making it to the end. The good news is I've got another one that I know you're going to like, and all you got to do is click it right here. Linking it right here. All you got to do is just click it, and you're going to see this new episode that you're going to love.